Hello, I'm Steve. A little about myself. I'm a retired law enforcement officer with 20 years of service. I began my career in the jail, worked the road, and became an investigator. During my career, my training consisted of everything from SWAT to becoming a state certified crime scene technician. I've investigated crimes from thefts to homicides. After retiring and becoming aware of true crime and web sleuths, I started my channel for web sleuths to better understand the perspectives of law enforcement. Not only do we cover true crime, I go out into the field and assist families who have lost loved ones to homicide and their cases are considered cold. Join me as we look and bring attention to these critical cases.
Good morning, everyone. Glad y'all were able to join us tonight. Had a long week, did a lot of traveling, met Ruckus, and went up and worked some cold cases. And for everyone that's new to the channel tonight that's visiting, welcome. Glad you're here. On the Morning Watch show, it's a little bit different than our normal presentations. So I'll be checking in with chat continuously. And when you're in chat, always respect families, mods, each other. And if you have any questions, absolutely ask. We try to stay on topic a little bit, but if you have a question just about any case or anything, most certainly we'll answer them as best we can without getting sidetracked too much. But tonight we're going to be talking a lot about the trip that we just took from Iowa, Indiana, and we went to a lot of different places. But before we get started here, let's see who we have in chat. Let's see here. There's Sandra, good to see you. Mojo Horizon, Barbara Spicer, good to see you. Christian behind the crime door, hey, good to see you. And we actually stopped by Flora, and I need to, if you have any questions, Christian, I'm going to be getting in touch with you about that. Triple S here, Miranda, good to see you. Chuck, good morning. Deb is here, and Ann, Betsy, Kay, McBee, Dwayne's prospecting, and Grace is here, and Pamela, good to see y'all. But anyway, let me pull this up and we'll get some structure in here tonight. If you have any information, and we're going to be talking about several cases tonight, and I'll be talking about a case I've been working on that behind the scenes, and I'll be announcing what case that is in just a few minutes. But one of the places we traveled to during this trip through the Midwest was up to Iowa, referenced the Evansdale homicides of Lyric and Elizabeth. I've been working with and talking to Drew Collins, who is Elizabeth's father, and they had a memorial this past weekend. And I traveled up there to do some work on the case prior to the memorial, and also to be there during the memorial, support Drew, and got to witness a town and a community that had been impacted by the deaths of these two young children. And the support they still have. Here we are 11 years later. It's a cold case. And the community absolutely still supports them. Even, when we arrived on the Saturday morning back there to the location where the memorial was going to start, the city had delivered some barriers for them to place in the road, and they simply just closed the road down. Major highway, one of the major points of getting into town, and they just close it down and allows everyone to be able to assemble in the road to start the ride for the recognition and the support of Drew and his family. And I watched Drew as he worked extremely hard, getting everything organized and making sure everything ran smoothly, and that he wants and will work so hard to ensure that his family and the story of the family's loss isn't forgotten. And of course, he has a lot of support from the community, And other Co-Case family was there. Larry Crum, he was there. And with Ruckus that I took along to assist me, and hats off to Ruckus guys. Ruckus can be kind of rough around the edges if you don't, if you haven't seen his shows, and you do see his shows, you'll see a big, gruff, rough talking individual. That's not the case when he is meeting and talking to. You can see the compassion and his absolute drive for justice for these families, the respect he handled with them, and he built a rapport and relationship with every Co-Case family. And he met 3 Co-Case families this week. So if y'all don't know who Ruckus Rocks is, absolutely, I'm sure everyone does. But if you haven't, go check out his channel, support him. He'll be working with me and assisting me and collaborating with me on so many different levels. Some of the things you do as a channel and prior law enforcement, we're still going out there in places where these families, and there are offenders out there, it's active. And most certainly, Mrs. Steve appreciates that Ruckus was with me. And he's absolutely, like I said, brilliant. And he brought a lot of things to the table that I haven't had in the past. And I have a great team, but absolutely with him on board, there's great things for us to be able to do in the future together. But I just wanted to, like I say, give him kudos, hats off to Ruckus for the effort that he put in. And even to the point that they had a vote of who was the most compassionate of the 2 prior law enforcement officer, Ruckus or myself. Ruckus won being more compassionate. And I thought that was kind of funny because I've been working on these cases for quite a while, and they just met Ruckus. And so that'll tell you the communication skill sets of Ruckus. When he wants to turn on the charm, he can, and he did. And like I said, it's an amazing thing, and I thank him for going with me. All right. Let's see here. Get caught back up here. Make sure. All right. Chuck M's here. Yes, Ann, I'm back safe. Hello, Betsy. And Madison Stephen. Stephen, so glad you're home safe, Mr. Steve. Did poor Mr. Waffles have a one-way trip? Mr. Waffles got to stay with Purdue RN for 4 or 5 days. And I haven't unpacked Waffles in the Co-Case I'll be telling you about here in a few minutes. Mr. Waffles played a extremely important role during the demonstration. He's an exhibit that we'll be using for some attorneys next week or soon. It may not be next week. It depends on when the Co-Case family can get everyone and get all the attorneys organized. Still have some more testing and experiments and exhibits to build for them. And but we're moving right along, and the family in Indiana has already started posting on their Facebook about meeting and what has been done up till now. And so they're starting to release information. So myself and Ruckus also will be releasing some information about that family and that Co-Case. Hello, Mindy. Thank you, Debbie. Let's see. There's Bobby. Hello. And Patty, good to see you. I'm doing fine. Mrs. Steve, as I was explaining to everyone earlier, I was gone 8-9 days. It felt like a month. I'm still kind of getting older is not easy. You have a lot of to get your rest back. I don't sleep much, but still it's different when you're on the road. And so still a little bit tired, but we're going to get everything caught up in the next few days. And but in 30 plus, well, over 33 years of marriage, but this was the longest. Normally, even in law enforcement, when I had some be on the road or be training for 2 or 3 weeks at a time, sometimes I still came home on the weekends. This is time I didn't. I was gone, like I said, missed a weekend. So Mrs. Steve was glad to see me when I got back, and I was glad to see her. You can't miss your best friend that long. You know, you can't be parted. All right. Hello, Jackie Douglas. I'm glad you called us live. And thank you, Betsy. That's very nice of you. And Miranda Lee, Chuck M. Now, this is funny. I don't care who you are. Chuck M. So Ruckus is the second national treasure. I can't wait till y'all hear the explanation of from Ruckus of how National Treasure came about. And I've only heard it about 10,000 times since he coined the phrase during a luncheon that we were having with Drew Collins. And we're sitting there, and he said he was just along to protect the National Treasure. And Steve and Drew appreciated that joke, and it's been there ever since. Yeah, Boston Christian, National Treasure 1 and 2. Yeah, Ruckus is a treasure. Yes. Hello, Jinx. Good to see you. And absolutely, hats off to Jinx. We had a barbecue. She stepped up, and well, it was for Ruckus. And at the barbecue, of course, everyone knew me as Ruckus's driver. But I did get to see some of my supporters there. It's absolutely wonderful day, and I appreciate everything and everyone that came. And without everyone, this community, Ruckus's community, it allows us to have an impact far greater than each of you realized. And I thank all of y'all for that. Let's see here. Being on the road with Ruckus would feel like a month, I guess. It felt like I was on death row. I can see, that's he said. That part of his career was spent on death row in Florida, and it makes you. I understand some punishment now. What he could do, just listening to him constantly get on your or attempt to get on your nerves, because no matter what you're doing, Ruckus is not happy until Ruckus gets happy. Let's see here. Kristen says Ruckus is amazing, so thankful for him and the community. Did he behave himself on the long drive back to Indiana? No, he didn't behave himself very much. But anyway, but like I said, with the Lyric and Elizabeth, we got some work done. Didn't finish up on all the work that needs to be done. We still have, there was some sickness in one of the witnesses' family, and our thoughts and prayers goes out to that family. And I look forward to getting back up there and doing some more work. And as soon as they're available, I'll be meeting and getting some more information. Yes, makes the inmates start counting the days. Absolutely. That couldn't been, that's well said, because I counted the days until I could get paroled and get back home. Mr. Steve, I should have sent my wooden spoon with you to handle Ruckus. He would have broke it. He would have broke the spoon. Eric says, "Did you get to talk to any witnesses?" Yes, we did, and going to go back and speak to some more. And of course, Ruckus made contact, and I'll let you. I'll let him explain some of the people he talked to, and of course, we drove by a lot of different areas, and there's a lot of different things that we did. and there's a lot more to do when we go back. There's all manners of things that have to be worked on, and we look forward to it. And it's a long process, but we'll see if we can have an impact. Were you able to speak to the person who found the remains of Lyric and Elizabeth? No, his father is extremely ill right now, and I we sent text messages back and forth. He was, like I say, caring for his father, and I'll try to get with him in like I said, my next trip up, which can be anywhere from 6 weeks to 2 months. I have another scheduled trip up there. Depends a lot about this other cold case when it gets finished, and we meet with the attorneys. Let's see here. Yes, I did hard time, Kristen. Absolutely. And let's see here, what else we got? And but like I said, that community has a lot of support for the Collins family and the Cook family, and anything that anyone knows about that case, absolutely make sure that law enforcement has that information. Um, you know, I talked to Drew earlier today, and I think Ruckus is going to have a show with and about those cases coming up this weekend. So check that out. And because I'm going to listen to them and see how seeing Ruckus interact with Drew up there was extremely heartwarming. And um, Ruckus can be quite the character, and in so many different ways that, like I said, what you see on his show is not the Ruckus always. Like I said, he can be compassionate. I know a lot of people can't imagine that, but he is. Gil said, "I think you guys did great on the trip. Glad you survived Ruckus. You two are hilarious." Ruckus is hilarious. He, I laughed so hard I cried a couple of times. And what got him voted most compassionate? That's a story that at some point me and him will have to get together and clean it up enough whereas it can be presented on YouTube, uh, and not get his show taken down and get my show taken down, because I absolutely it was amazing. Man. All right. Another secrets here. Hey, how you doing tonight? No, I did not get to speak with the man that found the bikes. We were working in other areas on this case this time, but hopefully I can get to speak to him next trip or so. All right, Black Widow, good to see you. Thank you, Kristen. Yes, we got some excellent video at the Seven Bridges crime scene, and on the anniversary date of the abduction of Lyric and Elizabeth. And so we got to see that if they were transported to that location on that day, you'll be able to see, or even within a day or two of that time period, that's what would have been part of the experience of those moments of those children being walked into that desolate peninsula out there, and just cannot, fathom the fear and that those children would face in such a moment. And of course, that's why we do what we do, for the fact that offenders are out there that will commit such crimes as these, and we should always try to do everything we can to see if we can't have an impact on them. Miranda Lee says, who is the bike guy and what is he to the case? He's the individual that was riding on the trails that notified law enforcement a day or so later that while he was on the trails on the day of the abduction, he saw the two bikes at a specific time unoccupied and abandoned alongside the trail um, near the Twin Gates at Myers Lake, which is now Angels Park, and which helped establish timeline for law enforcement for the fact that when you have an individual finds the bikes and doesn't see the children, other witnesses prior to the individual that we'll refer to as Bike Man rather than initials or names, but we'll refer to him as a Bike Man. Narrows the timeline because we also have witnesses that saw a vehicle parked within a couple of 300 feet of that location where the bikes were found. And so that vehicle information and the follow-up investigation as we move forward is extremely important. Unearthed Secrets. Glad to see your face, Marty. Oh, man. Let's see. What additional pieces do you feel you got some fresh insight about? Thanks. We went out and specifically looked at some certain individuals. Not as many. They're scattered everywhere. There's a lot of offenders in that part of the country. We went and looked at a lot of different residences for different reasons, and checking, aspects of the case. Most of which we can't currently talk about, but as we move forward, hopefully it will mean something. Debbie says, how is Larry holding up? Larry is met Ruckus, and they absolutely struck up a great conversation and relationship, and he's doing well. But as always, these families, when they get together and they talk, and you realize that Larry and Drew have a relationship that developed from a nightmare. But they stand there, and Larry absolutely will tell anyone and everyone that Drew is his brother till the day he dies, and thereafter also. And so they have a special bond, but he's doing well. And of course, he gets frustrated and anger. You can see it boil up quite frequently as we discuss Amber's case, but that's to be expected. Hello, Helen. Good to see you. And let's see who else before I get too far behind here. Yes, I wish I could tell you all the details right now, but I'm hoping there will be a day where we can explain anything and everything, and make it absolutely clear. And the first day that we can, we will. Courtney, Unearthed Seeker says Courtney probably fell asleep. She'd otherwise say hi to everyone and to you, Marty. Um, yes, I have no idea how he does it. Although at one point, while he was working with his phone, everything on in the vehicle that I had just flashed, shut down, and came up, and it was back a kilometer per hour. So I don't know what he does over there as he's, and then every now and then he'd reach up and try to tune the radio, and um, all kind of things would flash and shut down. So. True crime. Can you tell us who Ruckus, the PO'd Ruckus said this? He did. there was an interaction we had with a certain individual, or he had. Now, we had went hunting him the previous day at a address that he had moved to, and when we got there, because he's supposed to be at a certain address, he wasn't there, and they were able to track him to another location. We went by, and Ruckus left a phone number for that individual to call. He called Ruckus. It didn't go real well, but it was entertaining. I wasn't there when the phone call went through, but I got back down to the lobby just as soon as it was over, and Ruckus was giving me details. But I'll let Ruckus name who it will be if he wishes. That's so totally up to him. Yes, Unearthed Secret. Larry is amazing. We just spent a few hours in Flora, and I learned some things about that, and that's what I want to talk to you about. That, and we'll get together on that. Ruckus explained some stuff that the layout of the house and how small it is absolutely amazing, and tragic that you're that close, and there are people that it's one thing when you watch videos and stuff and your depth perception is one thing, but when you're standing on a sidewalk and the property is far smaller than what I realized, um, and so anyone even on the sidewalk, I mean, 20 less than 20 feet from those windows, it's absolutely heartbreaking, and of the choices that were made that night and the things that occurred that resulted in the death of those children. Absolutely terrible. Um, no, we didn't talk to those witnesses. That will be, like I said, this, when I went up here for this one was for a more of the offender side than the witnesses that saw the vehicles. And of course, the individual that saw the two, or saw Lyric and Elizabeth riding on the bikes on the other side of the double gates, but were riding towards the double gates where the abduction would have first contact been made. He has passed. So of course, we will try to find some of his family and talk to them and see what the best information we can get from them. Yes, Unearthed Secrets, you're a great sister. Little Frank, excuse me, good to see you. All right. Then after we left um, Evansdale, we went down to Delphi, and uh, we arrived there Saturday evening. And upon arriving Saturday evening, and it wasn't quite dark, um, Ruckus wanted to go to the bridge. He also wanted to go to the crime scene, but we really didn't have enough time because we was trying to get back over to Purdue's RN because she had supper waiting on us. And absolutely wonderful. Anytime I pass through, RN wants me to stop in, and her and Mr. Purdue RN, absolutely great hosts, and very kind, and they're part of my family now, and I owe them so much. It's absolutely amazing how supportive they are, and it's a great place uh, for us to be able to stop in and totally relax for a few minutes and get some good sleep and rest and some coffee and food, and then head out. But uh, whenever we arrived and we went to the Ruckus and I took him to the Freedom Bridge and we walked the trail, went to the down to the High Bridge, and it's changed since I was there. The memorials for uh, Libby and Abby have been moved. I don't know if they're temporarily moved or what, but they weren't. It's changed there, and then also when you get out to the High Bridge, the bench is gone. They put up some more railing, as far as wooden railing, back away from the iron railing that they had put on the bridge, and so I don't know what else they're going to do out there. And they put some new cameras out there also on the High Bridge when you first get to it. And let's make sure I don't get too far behind here. All right. No, Drew has done some work, and of course, there's a lot of stuff on the on that documentary he can't talk about and release at this point. Um, but I think he says somewhere around the first of the year. I can't wait to see it. Um, on the Eric Miranda says, "Are there any good websites to read about the Evansdale case that you know of?" Our foundation is starting a website on the Evandale murders, and Mrs. Steve will be in charge of it. There will be one of the websites, and so hopefully we're going to try to become a clearinghouse of information for this, and try to do the best that we can and honor and bring as much awareness to this as possible. So I know that website will be up, and but I don't know about others. But if you do have any, absolutely let us know, and we'll link them out and everything. Uh, Courtney can help Mrs. Steve with the website. Absolutely. Thank you. I'll tell Mrs. Steve. Oh, yeah, I know who Courtney is. Uh, I, she'll answer to anything. And I know that for a fact because I've called her about every name that had nothing to do with her real name so much on our trip to Texas. All right, let's see here. What else have we got? All right. Also, after we had Ruckus and I arrived in Delphi on Saturday afternoon before dark and went to the bridge, we went to Purdue's, and then next morning we got up, had a good breakfast, and we had a barbecue waiting for us later that was hosted by Jinx and some of the other creators were there and um, uh, from the area, and of course some of the community from Ruckus's channel. And I had some that knew who I was and subscribers to my channel, although they just referred to me as Ruckus's driver mostly over there. But absolutely, we had a good time and appreciate the food. But Ruckus and I made it down to the crime scene before going to the barbecue. And so he knows where the crime scene is. He knows how to get there. And I think he's going to be going back um, with or without me. And but because I'm extremely busy right now and I don't know when he's going to go back. I'll probably get him to go back to Iowa with me. And of course, whenever we pass through, we'll stop. Oh, you wanted everyone else to know? I thought you just was working about my old age. And I'm Southern Gal True Crime. I'm late. Been trying to figure out how to use StreamYard. Um, it, everybody says it's extremely easy, and it is after you learn everything. But sometimes you just click a button and nothing works. Been there. Oh man. Yes. Larry is, he gets extremely emotional, and of course he has reasons to. And he's frustrated. I mean, it's been 40 years. And right now, the lab, we're waiting on that lab report, and hopefully we'll have it in 4 or 6 weeks. Of course, if it comes back species specific as human, of course, it's a done deal. We just don't know if it's going to be human or whatever species it is. And then if it is human, it really doesn't matter what the DNA profile is on it, if they can get it or not. But if they can get a good DNA profile, that's even far greater and better than anything that we could hope for. Miranda says, True Crime, do you think you'll try to attend any of Richard Allen's trial? If by chance, when I'm passing through, something's going on, absolutely, I'll probably stop by. But the co-cases are the priorities. Of course, I create content on other things that help fund where we can do co-cases. So, and I would stop in trying to find some and see what's going on. But I don't know when the next hearings is. I've been, or how many hearings are coming up and when they will be. But next, I check whenever I pass through, see if anything's going on. And so far, I've pretty well missed everything. Let's see here. Yes, I saw where, yes, someone sent me, um, once again, I appreciate everyone that tries to keep me up to date. I know it's extremely difficult trying to keep me up to date, but Mrs. Steve received several messages, text messages, um, and as I was doing some follow up work on another cold case that we're working on, um, but yes, I have heard and saw where uh, she had made the findings that he was being treated better than and was having access that was greater than those around him and better than expected. All right. All right. Let's see here. Then, of course, we got Lyric, Libby, and Abby. And of course, if anyone out there has any information on Richard Allen, uh, Libby, Abby's case, absolutely for justice, make sure that is passed along. And then let's see what else we have. We have the Delphi. And now we're going to be talking about another code case. It's one I've been working on. And of course, as we moved into the case, um, there's times when I first start on a case that certain things have to be done before we start mentioning case names and persons of interest and things. And of course, we're not going to be discussing persons of interest tonight. We will be discussing the case, or I'll introduce you to the name of the individual. The information that can be released won't be released until we find out what can and cannot be shared from the attorneys. I have the crime scene photos. I have police reports. I have all kinds of things on the case. And but let's see here. Let me get through with these questions before we get to that case, and then we'll get Yes, it is mixed emotions about, is it a human bone or is it some other animal bone like the other bones that were in the crawl space identified. This bone was buried within that depression, and so and it got there some way, and we just don't know how or what it is, but um, it is mixed emotions on whenever you're doing that. Yes. Do you have any idea why he or they separated girls like that? How unbelievably cruel. Yes, there's some possibilities of with multiple offenders of why that you would have separation. Um, don't know if that is the case because there's other unknowns that could lead to two victims being separated due to fight, flight, chaos on a crime scene. But as we saw with Delphi, he was able to stage both of them um, next to each other. But each offender may or may not do that. You know there's so many unknowns and variables when you're working crime scenes that you can speculate all day and be absolutely wrong all day. Uh, all right. So now, if y'all haven't seen the case of Kerry Owsley, it was a police investigation that started April 7th, 2013. He's a truck driver um, that the initial law enforcement response. And as you go out there and look at this case, I encourage you to watch. There's a documentary on it already, and it has over 3 million views on YouTube. And there's a lot of other information out there about him. Um, Kerry's sister, Cheryl, has been fighting this cold case battle, and they've taken it all the way, I think, up to all through the court system, up to appeal courts within the state of Indiana, and they've run out of court uh, trying to get Kerry's son the ability to have standing um, to be able to have a part of understanding and obtaining certain information and having certain rights in the investigation, which he hasn't had. And of course, that's been a big argument. As we look at the cold case, and of course, on the death certificate and the findings by law enforcement, and uh, it has been ruled by the investigating officers as a death by self harm. And I have to be politically correct because if I don't, then of course um, uh, things happen on the YouTube world. But um, looking at the case, and when you watch the documentary and the perspective of not only there are other crime scene investigators out there that have looked at this, and they agree that there's a different of opinion of how and why um, Kerry's death occurred, and so of course, you have self harm or you have a homicide. There's a lot of different ways people die from natural causes to accidental, and then of course you have self harm, and then you have homicides and things. Um, and looking at this one and all the information that you have, and it's a very complex case. There's a lot of information out there. And do I agree with all the information that law enforcement released? No, absolutely not. Do I agree with all the information that the one of the CSI guys said about the case? No, absolutely not. But Ruckus and I, like I said, if you go to um, Kerry Owsley Mission for Justice Facebook page. They have a lot of information. Of course, you see Ruckus and Kerry's sister, Cheryl, and myself discussing the case, and been working hard on it. Have a lot of exhibits, getting ready for uh, uh, presenting them to the attorneys. and see if we can't get back into the court systems, get to a grand jury, get to a prosecutor, or just get public awareness to the level that they take notice and readdress this issue and look back at it and see what the findings are. Because there's certain things that um, in the world of forensics and CSI that um, argue the point of what law enforcement classified that cold case as. And if you watch the documentary, there's a lot of information in there. And do I agree with all the information? No. And you'll see why as we move forward. Um, but it's just my opinion. And when I work a cold case, and this happens all the time with CSI, you know, you would think that all information means the same thing to everybody in CSI. It doesn't. There can be variations and of chain of events and how certain blood spatter can occur, certain trajectories, certain injuries, and all that is from each CSI's training and perspective. And so you'll see that there will probably be some differing opinions between some of the CSI and the documentary and things, but that's why they requested me to look at it. And so I looked at it. All right. Let me go back through here and get caught up before we go on. Hello, Cynthia. Nah, Mojo Rising, you're not late. You're here. Thank you. Hog Defender, good to see you. Okay, look at here. Got a $3 super sticker from Running German. I love the spelling there. Running Germ. that's that's funny there. Appreciate that. And right on Josephine, the late rewatch crew. Thank you. Let's see. All right. But like I said, I've been doing a lot of work on this case, and each of the exhibits and everything is for a single purpose. And if you have any information on this case, and this is in Columbus, Indiana, and which is actually Larry knows the family, went to school with Carrie, and had spoken with Carrie, and from that relationship is one of the reasons why I took on this case also, in addition to the other cases that, um, and so as we move forward with it, and there's a lot of information out there, like I said, some of it won't be able to share until what the now the exhibits and that I created and the CSI part of it. We will be looking at how I created those exhibits and what they mean and what they tell us about certain possibilities that could have occurred in the death. Um, because that's why I look at those exhibits, because you learn so much information when you are creating and looking at the evidence and from the reports and that perspective of how that trajectory could occur. Why is it there? How can a trajectory just change mid-flight, and why? And means a lot. And so we'll see what as we proceed through it, what the attorneys say that we can share with y'all. We'll share a lot with you because I think from the testing, there's probably 15 or 20 different tests I've run. And of course, like I said, we'll share as much of that as we can with you. Let's see here. Miranda Lee says, True Crime Web, you feel Carrie's death was a homicide? Um, yes. I can tell you this, that the narrative of from the documentary and everything that is shown as what the narrative from the perspective of law enforcement in my testing and from my opinion is not that it was self-inflicted, that those injuries uh, occurred not where law enforcement said they occurred. The damage done to the chair didn't occur from a gunshot. And you'll see the exhibits and what that tells us and why we created that. Um, and now, of course, as I've explained, there's going to be a lot of arguments and things as we move forward. Um, we weren't there, and the evidence we currently have and I've looked at um, are indicative that there were other actors involved in his death. And so that's where we're addressing, and that's what we're creating and presenting to the jury, not to the jury, but to the attorneys. Dan, you're not late. How you doing? Appreciate you being here. Shelly, good to see you. All right. But yeah, it's let's see, 2013. So we're looking at 10 years on this case also. And they've absolutely, when you speak to Cheryl and you speak to Logan, Logan is, of course, Carrie's son, and he was there. When he got the call and responded to the residence where his father's death occurred, and he's emotional, extremely so, and should be, because he was asked to come over and help him move out of the residence that day, and before he could get there, his father was deceased, and it absolutely has a huge impact upon him. But we're going to do what we can and see if we can get law enforcement to look at it once more, and even more so if we can get a grand jury or something to look at it. All right. Let's see here. But let's see. I don't know if I have another. Yep, that's the last slide on that. But absolutely, if you have any questions about Carrie, about Libby and Abby, and or Lyric and Elizabeth, we've been here almost an hour, but we'll um, uh, talk about anything y'all want to. And I can tell you something that didn't get brought up. We hadn't even talked about Waffle House, and I ate at a Waffle House in Columbus. It's right next to the hotel where I stayed at this last time, and I went over and got me a coffee and a BLT, I think. Uh-oh. Boston Christian is on Nightbot's naughty list. How is that possible? I'm telling you. All right. But it was a long trip, had a lot of work to do. And once again, when we got to Columbus and we're speaking with Cheryl, Carrie's sister, Ruckus absolutely was able to build yet another relationship with her. And it's amazing to see. And she's very appreciative of that. Yes, Southern Gal, True Crime. Watch the documentary. It's fascinating. There's a lot of information in it, and it makes you say, And so Unearthed Secrets is in a battle with Nightbot right now. That's terrible. Uh, I have no idea why Nightbot is doing some of that. Makes no sense. I'll have to get with Mrs. Steve and Jennifer and see what's going on with Nightbot. Mm-mm-mm. But anyway, guys, I appreciate everybody being here tonight. And but we'll have a show later tonight, and I think we're gonna be. I've got some work to do with some luminol and clothing, and the Koberger case, and then I've got some vehicle work to do, some follow up. But hopefully, that's what we'll be able to do tonight. And hello, Chuck. Mr. Steve, are you able to see the 5 gifted memberships? Not just wanted you to know. So thank you, Cynthia. No, StreamYard is the most absolutely aggravating thing. That's on the YouTube side. Mrs. Steve's here. She normally is able to do that. But thank you for your support. And there's your blue lights. And I absolutely appreciate that. It means a lot to us, allows us to go out and work the cold cases. And if anyone else has donated anything and I missed it, I apologize. When Mrs. Steve's not here, the Google machine and I have limited access, sadly. I don't, I can't get over there to get it figured out in time. But Nightbot, we're going to have to figure out Nightbot. Nightbot has quite the vocabulary. Mindy Harris says robots are taking over the world. Absolutely. Yes, thank you, Cynthia. That's amazing. Appreciate that. It means a lot to us. The documentary for on Elizabeth Collins. I don't know what the title of it is. I'll have to ask Drew, but he'll be on Ruckus's channel. I think Saturday, maybe. Thank you, Cynthia. Appreciate that. See-through says, has your opinion changed on anything with the Delphi case after having had the chance to return, or do you hold the same view as how it went down? Yes, the only thing that ever has confused me, and the longer it goes with no additional charges, the more it looks like it's a lone wolf. But the biggest thing that's always aggravated me was the 2 sketches and the age discrepancies. And after going down the hill, and they went the route they did. Um, I mean, it just makes you want to think that there was something that turned them from being able to escape towards home or splitting up, that there was other involvement. It probably won't be the case. And so I've always hesitated when about the lone wolf, because it's so hard to for me to grasp it, that it is just a lone wolf. But and of course, the aggravating factor that's always aggravated me is when Kagan Klein looked up how long does DNA stay on a body, which who in the world, I worked crime scenes my whole career and I've never looked that up. Not meaning that someone couldn't, but why would you? Makes no sense. Everybody's teaming up against Nightbot. Oh, who is it? Okay, Debbie says on Owsley. Let me see. Let's see here. And try and get caught back up here again. Oh, that's good observation, Betsy. No, Ruckus wouldn't have to hack Nightbot. If Nightbot, if Ruckus mentioned Nightbot, that's all it takes. I sent an email describing to an individual today of my evaluation of the skill set that Ruckus has of being able to just absolutely just look at something and it stops. I don't know. My father used to have a certain name for that type of ability. Oh, the Owsley documentary. What is it? If you'll just look up Cary, Cary, Owsley on YouTube, it'll pop up. There's several of them. I think it's around 30 something or 50 something minutes long. And there's other articles on him also, and there's other videos on it, but it's on the YouTube. I can't recall what it is. Also, they have a Facebook for Cary Mission for Justice, and I believe on the Facebook there's a link to the documentary that they with one of the CSI guys that did some work on it. Oh my goodness. Y'all are so funny in chat. Oh, absolutely amazing. Yeah, Boston Christian. Yes, you can find it on YouTube. Let me see what. Let's see here. As y'all are sitting there and y'all watching me, the just let me know if the internet totally. Yes, it's the title of it is "What Happened to Cary Owsley." Crime Watch Daily with Chris Hansen. Is from True Crime Daily. Is one of them. Now there's other ones that are shorter, but that's a 34-minute documentary on the case. Okay. And if I could figure out how to do this, let me see if I can go over here and absolutely just shut the okay, I believe that's the link to it. So there it is. But I don't know if that will work. Just as soon as you hit that and the internet shuts down or your computer, it's Ruckus's fault. It's not mine. Because I've gotten out now. Anything that happens is Ruckus's fault. All righty. But everybody, like I say, I appreciate y'all being here tonight. And I'll see y'all in a few hours. And y'all stay safe out there. And see you soon. And thank y'all for being here.